and welcome to Hosta La Vista, the podcast where the shade is cool, the leaves are lush, and friendship's perennial. We are your hosts. I'm Betsy Petryszyn.
And I'm Mandy Olson.
Two hobbyist sisters who love this plant as much as you do.
Join us each week as we dig into all things Hosta, the plant affectionately known as the friendship plant.
Hi, sister. It's been a while since we talked. How are you doing?
Well, I got my Gunther's Prize in the mail. I have wanted a Gunther's Prize for, 2 years now. You know, they're pricey. And I keep thinking, okay, for $100, that's what I'm finding them for. I could buy 4-ish, maybe 5 other hostas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of won out the last couple of years. I'm like, if I'm going to order some, because I have to order Gunther Prize. But anyways, this year I said I'm just going to do it. And Brian White Nursery, he's out of Tennessee, I believe. He has a wonderful selection of Gunther's Prize. And so I ordered from him, and he ships priority mail. It did great. And we've been sitting in some really hot weather, and it looked great. Got it potted up, and it's sitting in a little pot in the shade, recovering from its journey. And then I go out yesterday. I go out the garage. I go out in the mornings to say hi to my hostas, which doesn't everybody.
Yep.
And I hear this commotion near the front door, and we have a water feature. All right. It's literally a sunken Rubbermaid container that I use for our outside animals that don't need it now. And it's probably 2 foot by maybe 2 foot, foot and a half. I don't know. And we sunk it in the ground near the front of the house. And I have a little, like a bucket fountain that filters, that pours water into it. And it brings in a lot of critters, usually snakes, which, you either love snakes or you hate snakes, but snakes are, they serve a purpose. They eat rodents. And if they're around your property, then they're eating. Okay. And you got to let them eat, and then they go on their way. And anyways, so I'm walking out there and I hear commotion, and I go down the front sidewalk, and there is a full-sized female turkey just standing in the basin and bathing. Just, have you ever seen like a duck bathe? Like, you know what I mean? They flap their wings and the water's going everywhere. Well, picture a full-size wild turkey bathing in your basin in this water. Water's going everywhere. I'm worried about my Gunther's Prize, who's nearby, worried that she's gonna like trample it. And anyway, she sees me, and I thought she would just run, but she just stood there, and we had a little look at each other. And I thought,
like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to me? Come on, bring it. What are you gonna do?
she just kept on bathing, and I thought, okay. So came out later, and she was, hunkered down behind the boxwood, and I think she found a nice shady place. And we've had a huge amount of baby toads lately. We're talking like 40 around the front Hosta garden, which I love. I'm like, yes, I love toads. They eat slugs, they eat bugs, they eat all sorts of stuff. So,
but snakes eat frogs, right?
Well, that's okay. I haven't seen any snakes this year, so it's all good. But it was a treat. So yeah.
As long as we don't have a turkey and a snake together in your water feature.
That's right.
Well, this, you know how Facebook gives you little reminders of like, here's what happened 1 year ago, or here's what happened 5 years ago. We just passed the 1 year anniversary of the dead deer that was in our backyard last year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So it's the last day of school, and listeners, I am a teacher, so last day of school is chaotic to say the least. And I'm driving to work and I get this phone call from my son and he says, Mom, there's a dead deer in our backyard. And listeners, we live on a city lot in the middle of town with the elementary school behind our house. So he's telling me this, and I was like, yeah, right. Just go to school. Like, I thought he was trying to get out of trying to go to school. So he goes, no, Mom, seriously, I can't let the dog out. There's this dead deer, and our fence is all mangled. And I was like, oh, all right. And so I turn around, I come back, and sure enough, just flopped onto the inside of our chain link fence is this dead deer. And the fence is broken, and kids are starting to show up. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So I called the city because I was thinking animal control. Well, the city says, well, sorry, it's on your property. You know, if it was on the other side, if it was on the path side, we'd come and pick it up. And I was like, so you're telling me that just because it fell on the inside of this fence, I have to take care of it? Yep. And I go, well, what do you think what should I do with this thing? And I hear somebody cover the receiver on the phone and they go, hey, Mike, I got a lady on the phone. It's got a dead deer. What do you think she ought to do with it? And from somewhere down the hallway, I hear this guy go, let nature take its course.
I don't think you mentioned that you live right behind a school.
Oh, yeah, like
Yeah, that's an important
literally,
part of here. Yeah.
literally right behind the elementary school. And these, middle school kids are walking
Yeah.
by because the middle school's down the road and they're just kind of looking. But I thought, we are going to have a massive problem once these elementary school kids see this thing. Because, I mean, you can stick your fingers through the fence and touch this dead thing.
Yeah.
So I quick called my husband and I was like, look, tag, you're it. I got to go to school. I can't, I mean, it's the last day of school. I just can't be gone. And so he starts calling around and he's not having any luck because I guess deer have some sort of, I don't know, some sort of disease like wasting disease or something. And so nobody wants to pick them up anymore. And he finally gets a hold of the DNR and they were like, fine, we'll come get it. So he calls me and he goes, the DNR is going to come get it. And I'm like, oh, thank God. 40 minutes go by and I get this frantic phone call from the head of the grounds for our school district, who happens to be a friend. And no niceties. I was like, hello. And he goes, listen, you got a dead deer in your backyard and we got an emergency on our hands. The PE teacher is standing out here with a megaphone at your fence trying to push the kids away. And you can hear him in the background, step away from the fence. And all these
Oh,
little kids, he goes, we got to get this thing out of here immediately. You okay with me jumping your fence, getting this thing out of here? And I'm like, yes. And the next thing I hear is fine, click. Like there's no goodbye. There's no, hey, this guy was in panic mode. So I find
oh,
out later that he and a guy, jumped the fence, grabbed the legs, threw it in the back of their pickup truck, only to then have the DNR guys pull up alongside
oh,
and they ended up transferring the deer from their pickup to the DNR pickup and then they drove away and I just thought you can't make this stuff up, like this is
no.
not this is a city
Oh,
lot. Let nature take its course.
oh gosh.
What, are you nuts? No, we are
Oh,
not, the National Geographic in our backyard. God.
what a mess. Oh my
Well, and
goodness.
then I was worried about because our dog is,
Yeah.
he's half beagle, half Norwegian elk hound, and he has this nose that just won't quit. He's got the hunting nose. And I thought, he's going to go out there and he's going
Yeah.
to roll in
Yeah.
this thing. So I took a piece of like old chain link fence that we just had in the garage and I laid it down on top of the spot so it wouldn't be comfy for him to roll in. And thankfully,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he rolled in it, but ugh. One
Oh,
year anniversary. Thanks,
yeah.
Facebook, for that reminder.
Awesome. Wow.
That was chaotic. Oh, man. All right. Well, have a good day, Mandy, and
All
we'll
right.
talk to you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Welcome back, podcast listeners. We have a very special one for you. Today's episode features someone whose work has left a lasting impact on the world of hostas. Her cultivars are not only garden staples, but true works of art, bold, elegant, and utterly unforgettable. She's received some of the highest honors in the field, including the Eunice Fisher Distinguished Hybridizer Merit Award.
From iconic introductions like Brother Stefan, Niagara Falls, and Coast to Coast to her distinctive Americana themed naming style, she brings both creativity and heart to every plant she develops. Whether you're a collector, a casual gardener, or just hosta curious, you're going to love hearing from the one and only Olga Petryszyn. Olga, welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for calling me.
We've both grown your plants for years, and we can't believe we're actually talking to you. It's great. Well, let's start at the beginning. What first pulled you into the world of hostas?
Oh, well, okay. We can go back 56 years. How much time do we have?
As much as you need.
Well, actually, it started when I was doing my studies in Chicago at the Art Institute of Chicago. One of my professors, Bill Brincka, he taught sculpture and environmental design. He and I really became very good friends. And at one point, he said, "Why don't you come out and visit our farm in Michigan City?" So I did. And lo and behold, I see all these beautiful garden rooms and the beginning of something really phenomenal. He was a fine horticulturist. And so I would spend every weekend I could from Chicago and drive out and spend the weekend with him and his partner Basil Cross. And I was slave labor, pulling weeds, planting flowers, dragging shrubs. This is two inches too far this way. Let's dig it up again and move, cleaning up in the fall. And over the years, I learned so much on horticulture. And one year, Bill Brincka was carving out an area in the woodland and he was taking out trees and marking out an area with ropes. And I go, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm going to create a hosta garden." And I thought, well, I kind of know what a hosta is. And all of a sudden, he had a shipment of hostas coming and had about 25 varieties, which was fascinating to me. And so helped plant them and place them. And he had the bucks to buy them, by the way, because you could spend $500 on a hosta because they were so rare, the varieties at that time. So I love them. And I said, "Bill, you got to teach me how to hybridize these because I already knew how to do daylilies. Those were easy." And he did show me. And so I didn't have the plants. Meanwhile, I had moved about, a mile away from him. And he said, "Well, why don't you come over in the morning and use my plants and you can cross away whatever you want." And I did. And so over the next 2 years, I was able to create my own gene pool, grew my own seeds, and then started hybridizing. And that was in 1986. So that's where that all started.
Wow, that's so interesting.
And
Wow.
and was Niagara Falls one of your first back in 86 or was it more coast to coast? I can't remember which one you started with.
Oh, well, it's interesting. My very first one was called Old Faithful because,
Oh,
and I'll tell you why. I was making a cross on a hosta by the name of Plantaginia,
oh,
not knowing that Plantaginia does not take pollen. She's not going to do it. Doesn't want anything to do with the cross. I kept on crossing her and kept on crossing her. And in one pod, I had one seed. And I thought, "Oh, look at that." I kept that seed and grew it. And it turned into this gorgeous hosta with sort of a red petiole. And I thought, okay, I'm calling this Old Faithful because I was faithful enough to hold on to that. So, and then came Niagara Falls after that.
Oh, so wait a minute. Let me understand. Uh, it- David Bowe was on. He was also talking about how very difficult Plantaginia is to act as a parent,
Correct.
meaning the recipient for
Correct.
pollen, but you got one to actually grow on a Plantaginia pod?
Correct.
oh
One. And
gosh.
David, through the years, can break that down. You keep on breaking down the resistance. And he has done a lot of work with Plantaginia, and I congratulate him on that. because they have fragrant flowers. It's beautiful.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, fragrance are your favorites, right, Mandy?
They are. I love them. And in fact, I was picking out hostas this year, and I picked out Old Faithful, which is funny because I love it too. It's a beautiful plant, very vase shaped, and it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
don't think we can go wrong with any of Olga's varieties.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Well, your hostas have such a signature look, bold, commanding, and a little dramatic. How would you describe your style, and how did it evolve?
Well, um, I like large plants because I want to see them. It has to be elegant and sturdy and have really rich color, and very important to have distinction. Once you start with a plant, like I did with Niagara Falls, let's say, and Manhattan, you got to look to you. And now you say, okay, what can I do to improve that? And you start looking around your garden and you say, do I want it to be gold? Do I want it to be blue? Do I want it to lay flat? Do I want it to be vase shaped? You keep on crossing the two to get exactly what it is you want. And I was a nut for a sketchbook. So I sketched all kinds of ideas through the years of plants that could be created. And people thought, oh, you got to be kidding. That's not going to happen. Well, guess what? If you think it, it can happen. Not necessarily by me, but other hybridizers have come up with colors and forms that didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, very true. Huh.
That's fascinating. So, because of your art background, you were able to pre-conceptualize in a notebook what you wanted to get and
Correct.
then caused it to almost like a, you know, chicken before the egg, egg before the chicken kind of situation. You planned out ahead of time and then made those crosses happen until it matched the one in your book.
Correct. And
Wow.
it's been fascinating, really. And eh, I don't take all the credit for that. I look at our Lord and say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing your work here.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
guide me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, can you walk us through that process? I mean, you've kind of started a little bit, but how do you go from, the idea that's in your notebook to a seedling? I mean, you get a bunch of seedlings. How do you kind of weed through and figure out which ones you want to proceed with?
Well, obviously the seedlings, I mean, I would grow 10,000, let's say, under lights. And you have to start the process of throwing them away into the mulch pile. It has to have really good substance, number one. If it's weak, forget it. And if it's got a good strong color, you'll see it. It's either really deep emerald green or powdery blue or a screaming yellow. I mean, you're going to see that right away. Sometimes you'll get the variegated ones, which it took me a while to figure out because it was the best kept secret from hybridizers that you have got to have a streaked hosta in order to cross onto to make a variegated hosta, whether it's variegated on the edges, in the center, or splashed. So once you figure that out, you can actually get some variegated hostas as well. Um, the rest is using your eyes. I mean, I'm very visual, and that's part of my artistic background. So I'd pluck the ones I like the best and then pot them away and watch them for a while.
Uh, you had a lot of very special plants that you donated recently to the live auction at this year's convention. Can you tell us about some of them that you brought with you?
Well, I did not name them. However, on the labels, I wrote down the genetic backgrounds. So you might have had two plants crossed together, like Seadrift in Montana. And then you saw another hosta that you saw that you thought you really liked. And you took those two crosses and put them together to produce a new form. And then sometimes those new forms you would take and cross with another double cross. So I could have a label with 12 names on it, starting from the very beginning, the mother plant, and then go on down the line. And if it created something fabulous, there you have it. Now, I can't register every single hosta because I grow them for a long period of time, 8, 9, 10 years before I register them. And I'm kind of running out of time. So I give them to other people to have fun with. They might name it and register it if they think it's worthy. or they can use it for their own genetic background in hybridizing, because it's always good to have new blood come in. You can't have it all.
I'm looking at the list here from the auction. There was one that was Eladior, Blue Whirls, and Crosslight. That sounds like quite a beautiful plant. And then you had, oh my gosh, listen to all of these. Sun Power, Birchwood Ruffled Queen, Sea Dragon, King Tut, Eladior, Niagara Falls, and High Noon. That combination, can you imagine how beautiful that plant would be? Wow.
Yeah, it would be a very large plant.
Yeah,
Wow.
for sure. Anyway, that's amazing. And then there was another Golden Gate variegated that you had brought. I
Well,
was,
that was interesting. Golden Gate was one of my early crosses named for California.
mhm.
Um, and it went into tissue culture. And the gal called me, Patricia Skolnick. She had a small tissue culture lab back then in the 90s, I believe. And she said, I found one in tissue culture that has a white edge. Do you think we should introduce it? And I said, well, why don't you send it to me? Let's look at it. And it was nice. It had a thin white edge, a little bit of a slow grower. It was very pretty. But personally, I didn't think it was so distinctive that, boy, you got to put this on the market. So I said, nah, I don't think, Patty, we're going to bypass that one. And I've been holding on to that plant for all those years. And so I decided, I don't have room for you. But you're so rare because you got a white edge on, on, on this Golden Gate. So that's why I put it out for auction.
That,
Oh,
oh,
that's
I love
neat.
that background story. That's the thing that would make it so valuable to me is just knowing where it came from, that whole story just then. Um, okay, so the next question I have is, so when it comes to naming your plants, do you name them after places you have visited?
Yes and no. Many times places I've visited and some that I have not. My goal is to name a hosta for all of the states that we have. So there's some states I haven't been to, but have a hosta. I think, you know what? I'll look up the state, look up what they're known for, and if it's just sort of visually matches that, I will name that. For example, Grand Canyon. Um, it's tall. The leaves kind of stand upright. It's very thick. The veins are very deep. The throat is deep like a canyon, and it has a wave on the edges. And to me, it was very canyon-like. So I named it Grand Canyon. So
Oh,
that's how that goes.
how was the convention?
The convention was wonderful. I believe we had around 350 folks that registered, and it was really phenomenal. One of the biggest cut leaf shows I've ever seen,
Oh my gosh.
and
Because
lovely gardens to look at.
it was a combo of the Midwest Regional and the national show, correct?
Correct,
Oh,
correct.
that's
We had
great.
two groups together and really well attended. And every time you go to these conventions, it's like seeing your family again.
Oh,
That's what I've heard from
that's
so
wonderful.
many people. They said it's just like a giant family reunion. That's really great.
Mhm.
Well, Mandy and I are definitely going to have to make that work next year, I think, Mandy. I don't think there's
I
any
think
way we
so.
cannot go.
Yeah, I know.
The Americana series, the way that started is my mother and father were from the Ukraine. And they were captured during World War II and taken to Germany and put into the camps. So they did survive that. And they were brought to Illinois on a Mennonite farm. They were sponsored to start a new life. And they worked very, very hard to become citizens and loved to be Americans. They did everything the American dream held for them. And it was my way of honoring mom and dad as Americans. So I wanted to have the Americana series.
Oh,
That's why I'm doing this.
that's
I
wonderful.
love it. Oh, I just love it. Well, I had a few ideas for some Americana themed names for
Ooh.
your less than lovely plants. I've got a couple for you here. You can take them and use them. Uh, vacant mall parking lot, uh, or for my friends that live in the Intercoastal Waterway, cash only toll bridge. How about that?
And we've all been there.
Or giant Missouri pothole. I like that one the
Oh,
best.
I think pothole is good
yeah.
as oh, that's great. That is really good.
Those will be the ones that end up on the recycle bin.
Yeah.
Well, back to all seriousness. You have been awarded the Eunice Fisher Distinguished Hybridizer Merit Award.
Oh
Will you
boy.
tell our listeners what that award represents and what it means to you personally?
Oh gosh. Well, that was just the most honorable achievement for me. I think it was in 2013 that I received that. And that is given to recognition of outstanding achievement in Hosta hybridizing and being a member of the society who advances the genus Hosta. I was so shocked that I received that, but I had been working very hard over the years um, while working full time. But that's how we all work, right?
Yeah.
And it was just the highest achievement I could have had, and it was such a blessing. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. There's one a year that's put out there, and there's a special committee that votes on this, and you have to have had some introductions behind you, and also helped others, teaching them, judging, doing seminars, that sort of thing.
Now, I am unfamiliar with who Eunice Fisher was. Does that name obviously go with that award for some?
Yes, Eunice Fisher was a hybridizer herself, and she was an early pioneer in the politics of hostas and promoting and building the society. In the beginning, probably started out with what, a dozen people, and I have no idea how many registered members there are today. It's got to be daunting.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Well, that's great. I wasn't sure who Eunice Fisher was. I figured it had to have been a very prominent person, but thank you very much.
Okay, Olga, we have a couple of fun segments we like to do on the pod. This one's called Finish the Rhyme. We'll give you a stanza and you try to finish the rhyme. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. A vase-shaped clump with upright walls, dark green with ripples edged like shawls. It casts a hush through garden halls, the bold and graceful.
Niagara Falls.
Very good.
All right, the next one. This is my absolute favorite one of yours. An Ojibwe name for big water you see. Its shiny blue leaves glide wide and free. A legend in shade, majestic and sea. The great blue-green hosta.
Gitchigumi.
Yay!
Yay.
I
Oh,
love the name.
I do too. And, having not grown up in Minnesota, I still remember the first time I saw Lake Superior. It was just like, you drive out of Duluth and there it is. And it just looks like this ocean in the middle of the United States. It truly is a great lake. And I love that plant. It matches the name perfectly.
Thank you. That's a great grower.
Yeah. I'm so sorry to say mine died over the winter, so I have to replace it. I got it last summer. A lot of mine came last summer, and Minnesota, maybe you heard at the convention, but a lot of us up here in the north, we had a really rough winter with hardly any snow cover. So we
Mhm.
had a brief thaw in February and then another refreeze, and our just, the crowns just couldn't take that. They
Oh,
came
that's
back.
tough. That's so heartbreaking when
Yeah,
that happens, but it
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, happens from time to time. So the next question I have is you've had some great success with tissue culturing your cultivars. I mean, I think there is probably not a listener among us that doesn't have one of your plants growing in their yard. Can you tell us a little bit about going through the tissue culture process?
Yeah, certainly. It's interesting because before there was tissue culture, um, a wholesaler would purchase one of your plants and they would Ross the bottom of the plant, score it like 4 times so that plant divided. And then they would take those division and wrap them up and sell them to you. And so you could buy a division for $200, $500. I
Oh,
miss that time, I'll tell you.
Oh,
So that's how people bought hostas. The problem was you can't get enough hostas out there for people who wanted them. So in comes tissue culture, which is a process of taking a bud, cleaning it with bleach, etc., sterilizing it, putting it in a special a batch of chemicals, which I don't know what they are, and wait until it divides, and it does. And then painstakingly, that plant in that petri dish is cut apart and divided again, and then physically cut apart and divided again until you have this petri dish that has several of these tiny little buds with roots on them. And then those are placed into tubes, or maybe they're placed into a pot if they're big enough. Very laborious, a lot of hands-on. It's not like chemically you can produce all these plants instantly. But you can, once you divide one into four, you can imagine you take those four and you divide it into four again, you're multiplying very fast. And so now the public can receive a clone of your original plant. And of course, they go all over the United States and into Europe, as you know. So most of what you buy is going to be tissue culture. Um, that's how it's done. And as far as that goes, not everything's I did went into tissue culture, probably 25 of them. Sometimes you'll have a plant that does not want to culture well. So the lab has got to play with it and say, are you multiplying or are you not multiplying? Um, I will say coast to coast when I put that out, man, she produced like crazy. This thing took off. It grows fast. The all the growers were thrilled. And so anyway, some do better than others, but those that grow slow, they're often going to command a higher price because, there's not enough to go around.
takes
sure.
more effort. Yeah, for sure. So tell us about tissue culturing Brother Stefan, because that's, at least for the two of us, one of our favorites.
Yeah.
Yes, Brother Stefan was one of those that's not on the Americana exactly, although it is my brother, and I did name him for Hosta of the Year.
Mhm.
He worked very hard, and it was just he was turning 50. I didn't know what to get him. He had everything he wanted. Uh, so I decided to pick out my favorite hybrid, which was that one, and I named it after him and then presented it to him for his 50th birthday. And the company called, I believe it was Shady Oaks.
Yep.
They were a tissue culture lab in Minnesota. They had cloned it for me and it went all over and it became very, very popular. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous hosta.
It's
Kind
beautiful.
of an epic hosta, really.
It
Yeah.
really is.
So you've been hybridizing for so long now, and your name is synonymous with the species. Have you taken other hybridizers under your wing and taught the tricks of the trade?
Yes, from the very beginning. I shared everything I could. Sometimes I'd put an ad in the local paper saying, okay, on Saturday at this time, anybody who wants to come to the garden, I'm going to teach them how to hybridize. And so I would do that consistently. And in one of my students, uh, Bev and Dave Stegman of Chesterton, they just were enthralled and they immediately started hybridizing. And it was really sweet because after the first couple of years, they called me and they go, would you come over to our yard? We don't know how to call the hostas, don't know what to keep and not what. And so I spent a lot of time with them as to what to look for. And they just took off into their own program and did some beautiful hostas like
Oh,
Skylight, Midnight Oil, and it goes on. Just
oh,
really, really contributed beautifully. Another person from Michigan, Michael Gruthius, used to drive to my home in Chesterton, and he was sort of my slave labor. He helped me pot and dig and then learned hybridizing and then took off on his own and has a massive hosta garden. And one of his beauties, I think he's called Feather Vein. Oh, it's just a
oh,
gorgeous hosta. Yeah.
We were just looking at that one, Betsy.
Oh,
Remember?
it's a
Oh,
beautiful
that's
Yeah.
pasta.
It
right.
looks like a giant feather. It's gorgeous.
Yes, I love
Yeah.
it. I just love it. And there's been others in between, and more recently, there's a young man who's just a junior in high school in my neighborhood. I taught him how to hybridize, so he's been in my garden
Oh,
hybridizing, and so we've been growing on his seeds. And I guaranteed that if anything came out of his crosses, that it was going to be his
Oh,
introduction. Yeah.
oh, that's
that
wonderful.
makes that just makes my teacher heart so very happy. I teach third grade, and I love hearing those stories where you get somebody in their teens into this field, because that's, gosh, another 50 years down the road, he may still be 50, 60, 70 years down the road. He may be teaching others, and he
Yes.
learned from the best.
Yes, and we want to teach the young ones. We need the young blood coming in. Mhm.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it's time for our second fun segment, this or that. We'll toss out two choices and you just answer on the spot. No overthinking, just go with your gut. Are you ready to play?
Sure.
Okay. First one, coast to coast or Yosemite Valley?
No, coast to coast. That was a cross between Niagara Falls for the east and Golden Gate for the west.
Oh,
And I thought, how do I put these two together? And it came out exactly how I wanted it. Oh, not Niagara Falls, excuse me. It was Manhattan.
ah,
Manhattan, which is very textured, crinkly, and the Golden Gate was very gold. So I wanted something textured and wavy and gold.
oh,
And so the two produced several seedlings, and this is the favorite one. And it's actually, I had Hans Hansen in my garden. He was looking for something that Proven Winners was looking for. So that did get patented. But he came
oh.
up with the name. I said, I don't know how to name this one. He goes, easy, coast to coast. You just did the coast to coast. I go, oh my God, you're brilliant. It was right in front of me.
That's wonderful. All right. Benedict Medal or Best in Show ribbon?
Well, I never received the Benedict Medal. That is the top honor anyone could ever do. Um, that you have to be years into helping people with hostas and committed to promoting and serving on the boards, etc. I'm just not worthy of that.
I'm
Here you
not
are.
I'm
sure
just
about
not.
that one.
Yeah. All right. Plant sale elbowing or exhibit table admiration?
Um, I hate being in crowds. So I'm going to go with exhibit table admiration.
Admiration.
When I go through the cut leaf show, I get to see hostas I've never seen before. And it's so thrilling. And of course, I'll take pictures of the ones I want. Not that I'll ever get all of them, but oh, you have to admire what people can grow and how beautiful they are.
That's very true. All right. Visit which national park? Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls?
Hmm. Grand Canyon.
Okay.
With the vastness, the changing of the colors, hands down,
Yeah.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wet is okay, but it's often cold and raining every time I go
Yeah.
to Niagara
Yeah.
Falls.
That's true. That's true. All right. Seedlings. Slow grower with perfect form or the fast grower with wild potential?
Well, at my age, I go with the wild potential fast grower. If there's a trait in there that I really like, I can always slow it down with
That's true.
with this form with another hosta. Yeah, I'd go with the fast grower wild potential.
Okay. All right. Last one. Speak at the conference or attend incognito?
Public speaking is always difficult for me. I think I'd rather attend incognito, even though my husband always says, you're the hosta rock star. And I
He's not
said, well,
wrong.
and I said, okay, but you're my hosta roadie. And he,
That's great.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Uh,
Well, Olga, thank you so much for joining us today. Your work continues to shape the Hosta world in ways we are all grateful for. It has been an absolute joy talking with you. Do you have any final takeaways you would like to leave with our listeners?
Well, I would say buy mature plants from a reputable nursery. And if it's not growing well in your garden, dig it up and put it in a different spot because it'll tell you whether it likes to be there or not.
yeah, that's good advice.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking I've got two or three I need to move probably today.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is to remember to feed them. They love to eat. I fertilize mine at least twice during the growing season.
Oh,
Okay.
and what do you use?
Well, since I have so many, I use something pretty reasonable, like triple 12, something
Okay.
that I can grab. It's granular, put it around the plants, and they're perfectly happy for that.
Okay.
If you want to really speed them up, then you're going to spend more money on a Miracle Grow or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, join us next week when we sit down with Dr. Mary Albrecht, Vice President of Genus Hosta for the American Hosta Society, to learn about her work with hostas.
Thanks for listening and
Hasta la vista, baby.
thank
Awesome.
you so much. This was a great episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
ladies, thank you very much for your time.